How's it going, everyone? Nick from Comic Culture here. Time for Nick at Night, my weekly comic book review show. Let's go over the books I read this week. Gonna go ahead and put my grading scale up. As you know, as I introduce a book, I'm going to put the cover of the book on the grading scale so you can see how they all stack up against each other. With that out of the way, we're going to go into DC first with the Vigil issue number 4. This is a big explainer issue, kind of in a way. We have a highlight on one of our characters right here. She is extremely capable. She's actually meta-human, potentially. We're going to learn a little bit more about her origin in a little bit. I think her name is Dinah, if I'm not mistaken. And she's actually a boxer. She grew up and she learned that she has this ability to kind of twitch, to change her frequency, change like the vibrational pattern of her body, similar to like a Flash kind of a character, but she uses that to her advantage in like boxing situations. So she's very much a scrapper. And we touch on her origin in here, which was awesome, I thought. I really enjoyed reading her origin story, seeing where she came from, understanding what her power set is, because up until then, she was just like very fast and she could just pummel the hell out of her enemy. So we have our main Vigil cast right here. They're infiltrating this base, trying to find some more information, although the true nature of their investigations still, behind lock and door in a way. And so the person that's organizing this whole team has not been completely straightforward with them. And this issue here forces out a lot of truths about their origin stories, who they're actually up against, and what they're doing inside of this base. So it was a really cool issue. I think it did a lot to explain the different characters in here, specifically this one. I think it has pulled back the curtain a little bit on the real origin story and the real motivations of this Vigil team. So we're going to see that play out as we go. And it also kind of introduced a new villain that we don't quite understand a whole lot about right now, but he's interested in taking out the team and knows exactly where they are. So a lot of cool things were explored in this issue. Really cool. I would recommend it to people who are into like B, C list heroes, but are still really interesting. Check this one out. Daredevil issue number 14, Chip Zdarsky. So this is his last issue on here. And it was a decent closeout. Now, last time I remember, Matt was still stuck as Daredevil in like this hell kind of a place, right? He did rescue all of his friends, but he was still stuck behind. I got to go revisit that one. There's like an essence of Matt now that exists outside. And so we're going to explore that a little bit more. We have Elektra still playing as Daredevil, going in and talking to the new Kingpin in town. I'll let you see who that might be. And there's some pretty cool interactions between them. We got some Foggy Nelson stuff in there. He's actually teaming up with Cull nowadays to continue the practice, defend those lonely people that are still out there. So that was a cool, interesting team up. Can't wait to see more of them. And then we have this kind of like a new origin story of the new Matt Murdock in this universe. And it was kind of nice and, pleasant. And it was interesting to see this version of Matt Murdock talk to Elektra, and the conversation they had was very heartfelt and everything like that. So there was some cool touching moments in here. It's a great place to leave the series, and it's a great place for a new creative team to pick it up. So I think he handled that pretty well. I got to go back and figure out how this happened. I like how it happened, but I don't know how it happened, So if that makes any sense. Daredevil issue number 14, not a bad one. What do you guys think? Next, we have Dark X-Men issue number 1, and this one was pretty interesting. This one actually focuses on Madeline Pryor, and she's actually in like this limbo state right now, which is its own territory. It's basically this house that exists right now that she's been living in, and she's giving asylum to all these different mutants that are on the run ever since the events of the Hellfire Gala. This one is pretty interesting because she essentially forms kind of like her own X-Men team in here with very different rules. And this book really focuses on her relationship with Havoc. A lot of this is through his voice. And we also get to see a lot of like Days of Future Past kinds of stuff where mutants are being captured and taken to like rehabilitation places. But there's some familiar faces on the traditional X-Men teams that step up and try to save the day. There's obviously a lot of mayhem and carnage. A lot of things are still hectic right now, and there's not a whole lot of answers as to how our heroes and anti-heroes are going to bounce back from all of this. So we don't get a lot from that perspective. We do get a lot of gruesome, brutal fights, and we get this introduction, for me anyways, of like this robotic Wolverine. And so I'm sure we're going to see more of him in the coming days. But pretty cool scene right here. I think this is kind of a skip if you aren't too interested in what's going on in here, but some of you longtime readers, people who really like Madeline Pryor, people who love Havoc, people who like those forgotten mutants, I think you're going to dig this book. Art was okay as well. If you read this one, let me know what you thought. All right, the next one is Uncanny Avengers issue number 1. I actually like this one a lot. I had to read it twice because I feel like there's some stuff in here that they were hinting at that on the first read I was like, no, that couldn't possibly be it. Specifically speaking about the first part of this book, we have Sinister, or this could be Dr. Stasis actually, and MODOK going through like this old abandoned, lab or something like that. They have somebody in this tube, right? They're preserving this person, talking about how the world has changed and all this stuff. There's a lot of hints that this person is somebody that we saw back in 2016, something like that. I'm not going to spoil it, but I have my thoughts about who that could possibly be. And it's got me actually kind of excited because it's an event that I started comics with in a way. So I'm excited for that. The rest of this book right here is basically focusing on Psylocke and her joining the Avengers team. We have Captain America going around trying to recruit some more people into their cause. And of course, she's all about it and she wants to get in there and avenge her people. And so that's interesting. And then we have Captain Krakoa with his stupid brotherhood of mutants. And he's going around saving some very specific people. I'll let you kind of read into that and see if it plays into the thought that I had about who this mysterious person, Dr. Stasis and MODOK, are teaming up with. We got some Quicksilver action in here as well. This is more about building up teams. We have our villains building up their teams. We have our Uncanny Avengers building up their teams. And we have this mysterious player in the middle who's strong enough to take on Captain America at this point. So very, very cool. Who's Captain Krakoa? We have no idea. I have my thoughts though. Let me know what you think. We're going to jump into some indie books next, starting with IDW Hollywood Special Issue #1. This is part of that Scott Snyder Dark Spaces universe. And so we're going to dive into here. We have a traveling show. We have a guy from the Flying Aces, if I'm not mistaken. This is during war times. And we have this woman that's traveling with him. She's got a complicated relationship with her kid or mom or something like that. And they're actually traveling to the next town, right? They're on train. They're going to the next town. They're expecting a big crowd. When they get there, there's a big catastrophe in the mines. And everyone's trying to help with the rescue efforts, and they jump right in as well. There's some weird stuff that happens in here as far as supernatural stuff. She starts seeing things and doesn't exactly know, what's real and what's not. So they're going to introduce some kind of a supernatural element to this, I would imagine. So it was a very weird first issue. The story is kind of weird so far. I feel like they did a lot real quick, and they're jumping right into the supernatural thing potentially. So I don't know if it's really kind of earned it yet. We'll see. We'll see, though. I'm excited for the next issues. Did you guys read it? What'd you think? All right, next IDW book was TMNT. This is issue number 142. Got the Eastman variant because that's what you do. And I'm trying to still play catch up on the TMNT universe. I didn't read any of the TMNT proper books until maybe 4 issues ago, but I'm reading all the ancillary titles. Lost Years, Last Ronin, all that good stuff. So this run I'm still trying to play catch up on because so much stuff has happened, and it's very different than the Mirage runs that I am reading at the moment. So where we're picking off right now, we have a lot of drama between Raphael and, from what I can gather, a former relationship that he had with this one character here. And she's upset because somebody from their clan was kidnapped by Leatherhead. Leatherhead seemed to be possessed or something like that and was kind of on a rampage. And so we're trying to figure out what's going on there. Turns out that we're going to introduce another villain that we saw towards the end of the last issue that is using this dragon scale as this mind controlling device, right? And so he has a limited amount of that, but there's some experimentation that's still needed. And we see the person that he kidnapped, Leatherhead kidnapped, be the next victim of this whole thing. And so we're going to see a little bit more about this manipulation and mind control thing later. Donatello is actually acting super weird as well. Some of the other turtles, the other brothers, are going in, seeing what he thinks about the current situation. And he's working on this big project that's going to save the universe, apparently. And so I think we're starting to get the bread trails to the one shot we read a little while ago, where he does some extraordinary thing to save the universe, but everything collapses. And then we had the events of our one shot a little while ago. Weird timing for all that. I think obviously it's set in the future, but it's not. I don't really know how the timing works. But it is what it is. So there we are. This run in general, there's just so much going on in this series, and there's so much catch up that I need to do on here. I'm going to continue to read it and just kind of ignore all the things that I just don't understand right yet. And yeah, that's kind of my approach to TMNT right now. But let me know if you read it, what you thought. The next book we read was Second Coming Trinity. We have issue number 5 from Mark Russell. Another great issue. Little foreshadowing on here with our Superman analog and Jesus down here. And we have this bear in the corner with its arm ripped off. We are trying to figure out what to do because little baby Jordan right here is a superhero in the works. He's a baby. He's actually destroying a lot of stuff. And so they're having to put him in a situation where the house that he's in can be indestructible. And they basically make it out of this flame retardant stuff, this foam or whatever it might be. And so everything just looks really gray and nasty around the house. And so it's their own way of okay, we need to keep everything from exploding every time this kid has a tantrum. And so we're going to figure all this out. Jesus here has an interesting idea. There is a special moon that our Superman analog goes to get his haircuts because it depowers him in a way that his hair can actually be trimmed. And his idea is to send baby Jordan off to this planet to really subdue all of his powers so he grows up like basically a non-super. And of course, that brings out a lot of emotions, and there's a big battle that ensues. And at the end of the day, who's actually watching Jordan, where he went, where did he go, and everything else. So really cool book. I like this one a lot. It's got a lot of cool topics that they mix all together. The art style is really interesting too. I got to get the subsequent volumes, the ones that came prior to this, and read those because this has just been such a fun comic. Check it out. All right, jumping over to Boom Studios, we have Something is Killing the Children issue number 32. So Cecilia, I believe is what her name is. This is the big conversation issue between her and Erica. So basically, she has come back into the fold, basically giving her not like an ultimatum, but like this idea, like she needs to be the dragon next. And she has this idea that Erica can either go with or not go with, right? She's like, okay, I'm going to give you some ideas on how to take care of this creature that's terrorizing this town, but also the Cutter lady is actually coming after you. And I sent her after you because guess what? You're a problem too, but so is she. So at the end of the day, if you take care of this monster and kill each other, best case scenario, but there might be some ways that you can come out on top. So we're going to explore that a little bit. This issue is very heavy on like the emotions and past events that these characters have had and the different relationships and conversations that they've had. So there's a big emotional event towards the end of the book that Erica goes through. This is a very impactful reunion for her to be in this lady's presence because of their history and whatnot. And so this means a lot to Erica to get this like guidance in a way. Kind of reminds her of old days, I would assume, but it's a very complicated relationship. So not a whole lot goes on to here in this issue besides like a lot of conversation and some emotional background, I suppose. So, you know, not a whole lot going on in issue number 32. We'll see if the action picks up in the next one. New one from Kelly Thompson, The Cull, issue number 1. This one was actually featured in the back of several different issues from Image Comics over the last month or two. And you might recognize some of this right here. So if you read an Image book lately, you're going to get a lot of this image right here. The first couple of pages, we have this mysterious beach that apparently spawns all these monsters and ends up taking out a whole bunch of people. Amazing, amazing artwork inside of here. One of the strongest parts about this book. But we kind of have this Goonies situation where we have all these different characters. They're getting together late at night. They're going to go investigate this mountain. They're going to shoot this like movie or this video. So they have like their actress and their director and all this stuff. They're going to go shoot this thing, but they're also on this like secret mission to find this missing person, which is actually, I believe, the sibling of one of these characters. And so they're on this secret mission, going out there at night, getting their flashlights, having their conversations. There's actually a lot of background between certain characters in here. So we explore that a little bit and we uncover this like hidden world that I won't show you because it's actually quite beautiful and I just want you to see it yourself, but you get a little glimpse of what it might look like over here. We get this hidden world shown up and we think that our missing person might be in here. So we're going to explore the world of The Cull going forward because it was a really cool book, awesome art, great writing. What'd you guys think? Something Epic issue number 4, another great issue right here. Big explainer issue. Our main character who has grown up into a life of holding back all of his emotion because of the repercussions it might bring, actually gets to team up with the old man that we saw in the previous issues, the ones that can also see things that he could as well. So what does this guy have to teach our main character right here? Well, quite a lot, actually. He's actually going to walk him through the way that the different universes are overlapped, the different way things are manifesting, how to navigate these worlds, and he's actually going to introduce him into this big challenge that he has to fulfill towards the end of this to actually get to the answers that they want and stop this big bad, potentially. So there's a lot going on inside of this issue, a lot of explanations, very, very cool artwork, but it gives you that sense that things are just way more complicated than we ever thought they could be, and there's a lot to this whole imagination bringing things to life. So a very interesting issue. There's a lot going on in here, a lot of explanations, a lot of walking through what the actual worlds are, but it was quite a story. Can't wait for the next one. Then we're going to close it off with Void Rivals issue number 3. Still pretty isolated to our two main characters that we were introduced to in the first issue. A couple little Easter eggs here and there to some other universe characters, and I'm sure you've heard the spoilers so far. I think in the next issue, we're going to blow it out a whole lot more and explore this universe a little bit more because that's what I really want. We focus on these two characters a lot lately, and we've learned a lot about their backstory, about the different clans they come from and the different politics between them, which is great. We had just enough introductions to other creatures in this universe to kind of get our blood boiling a little bit and get excited about where things might go from here. And this issue had a pretty classic cliffhanger that Robert Kirkman typically does. So we're going to be going on to issue number 5, seeing what is happening in there. Again, I feel like we're going to get more familiar faces from other properties here soon. So Void Rivals, what are you guys thinking about this run overall? Well, guys, that's everything I read this week. I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know down below in the comments what you read and what your favorite books of the week were. While you're down there, hit the like button. And if you haven't yet, please consider hitting that subscribe button and check out the join button as well. But as always, thank you again for watching. We'll see you all down below in the comments.